Welcome to Freelance Sucks. Here we discuss the dark side of freelancing about which nobody usually talks out loud. In this show, we speak with experienced freelancers, and I'm sure listening to their stories helps you prepare for freelancing challenges. My name is Yuri, I'm a community builder at Code Control and 9am.works, and my guest is Maja Nenadov Webster, a marketing consultant with over 10 years of experience working with corporations, startups, and launching her own freelance business, and now work with social projects, and a co-founder of Freelancing For Good, a community, job board, and directory for freelancers who want to use their skills to make a positive impact. So, welcome, Maya.
Hi, Yuri. Thank you for having me.
The easiest question right away for you. What is the most challenging part of being a freelancer?
Yeah, that is easy and difficult to just keep it short. Yeah, so I think kind of like going through the years, at the start, the biggest challenge was like a self-doubt right at the beginning. I think so like I'm introverted by nature, and I'm not really, like a person that's gonna be in the center of attention on parties. So when I started, like when I went freelancing full time, it became really real to me that, okay, well, it's me doing, I need to promote myself. I need to, like, I don't have team behind me who's gonna, support me or like say, yeah, you're doing right, or no, you're not doing right. And so there was a lot of self-doubt for, I'd say, quite a few years of, thinking, like obviously there's, like ups and downs. So when things were going good at those times, it was like, okay, yeah, I can do it. But then you really quickly start thinking like, can I really, am I good enough to actually do all those services on my own? And yeah, and then that self-doubt, you can't really, to say, afford it, because if you don't believe in yourself, I mean, clients won't come and say, no, you're doing good work, come on, let us hire you. They are, if you're not believing that you can deliver, they won't either. So I think, kind of like building that confidence, battling self-doubt at the start was the challenging bit for me. And yeah, especially because like at the time, the culture was a bit different. So freelancing equaled sitting on the beach with your laptop and working just, 2 hours every day and having all the money in your bank account. And it was so different to my reality, and I believe reality of many freelancers. It just, it wasn't cool to talk about it. Like if you share that, then it means, well, you're not really doing something right. So I don't think that culture really helped. But it's just like years of, just like kind of, I'd say, exposure, and like kind of like developing a certain persona, to say, where like, okay, that's not me, that's my freelancing persona, that is, like very talkative and very, self-confident, and she can do whatever she wants. That really helped me. But yeah, I mean, I think there's always, like, there you'll always have a bit of quiet periods, and then, self-doubt can always kind of like sneak in, like those little, your mind playing, games with you, like, oh, is it really good? Is it time to go back to the traditional job? You're like, shut up, mind, no.
Shut up, mind. Yeah, exactly. And but okay, so it's let's say it's the first step to say your mind to shut up. But how do you deal when you have this mind games?
Yeah, well, I think when I started to now, like the freelancing landscape changed a lot, fortunately. So for example, if I was starting now, I don't think I would have, I think I would kind of like have that kind of a level of insecurity, because, freelancing does come with a lot of uncertainty. So, and it's really normal to feel a bit like insecure when you're just starting. But I think I would have much less issues, with self-doubt, because now there's so many communities that are extremely supportive, like people who are total strangers, but they're offering you help, they're offering you feedback
Yeah.
on your portfolio, and when you hear from them saying like, yeah, that works good, then like, okay, well, there's no need for me to a total stranger, like if it wasn't good, they would say, like I mean, I'm pretty sure you've seen people can give a bit of, honest, like tough love, but like to help you. So it's really, it is much different, and I think that's really great thing for everyone who's like dealing with self-doubt now. So I mean, for example, now whenever I have some project, like something that I feel a bit insecure about, like whether it's the right thing, I just ask for feedback, and that feedback, like helps me whether like I should feel that self-doubt, or like, or not. So it is much easier to navigate that, I think, these days, because we are normalizing now talking about freelancing as as a more realistic thing, not that kind of like a fairy tale of, oh, you just sit in coffee shop and drinks coffees, and you take a photos that you post, and then you pack your stuff and you go. We are normalizing talking about it's a serious thing. You are running a business, you are a one-man band. So yeah, and more people are like opening up and saying like, oh yeah, I felt like that as well, and this is what helped me. So yeah, kind of like just having community around you, I think it's crucial, and asking for help whenever you need it.
It's interesting. You were talking about feedback, and I just recently remembered it was one of the latest conversation on 9 a.m. community, and the person shared two examples of a CV, and like, hey, folks, can you please help me like to give feedback? What do you like? What do you don't like? And there were like, I don't know, like 6 or 7 people given this like really, really good, honest feedback, and like big feedback, not just like I like this one or like I like this one, but really like explanation why do they like this one. And I was like, oh my god, like it's so amazing when you just go to the community and you might not know everyone, but people are so open to just help you unconditionally. I'm like, is it even possible, but I feel like it's always people has to understand what community to share. But still, when you were talking about self-doubts, I was like, yes, been there, have that, still there sometimes, because I even created the folder that it's my Notion page called "What People Say About Yuri," and every time someone gives me like good feedback, I print screen and edit inside. And anytime I have some self doubt, I just go there, read it, like, okay, it's not about me. I'm a good person, like.
Oh, that's such a good idea.
And it really works, because every time I have some problems with like, oh, maybe I'm doing a shitty work or something like that, I'm like, yeah, no, open this document, read it. Oh, that's good. Let's do it. Let's continue. Okay, so what is the most time consuming thing you must deal with as a freelancer, except for work itself?
Admin. Admin tasks, like taxes, finances. This, I think, varies, like depending on where you're registered. I think some people have it more bureaucratic than others, but I absolutely dislike any sort of admin tasks that are, like kind of like dry tasks, like, but you have to do it. So yeah, that one, I really dislike that one. So yeah.
Do you do them? Do you do them by yourself?
I do, yeah, I do. I mean, that's a thing that I should maybe outsource, but I'm kind of like, yeah, I should, but but then I'm kind of like, I think that would bring me an added stress of like, like, do I trust that person enough? Like, I really have to make sure that everything's like good. So I think that I'm still a bit kind of like in that place where I'm a bit over controlling, which
Yeah.
is, not a good thing. But yeah, I think, I need to work work on it. But good news for other people is that, yeah, you can absolutely outsource that.
Yeah, it sounds like being a manager, because when you are a manager and you have some people who are working with you kind of still have to delegate, and you kind of still have to check that everything is like as the result is right. So basically, you don't go to this nitty gritty of the things, but you are
Yeah.
still have to. So even if you are outsourcing, you still have to check it. You still have to understand that it's going right, that there are no mistakes, etc. So I totally understand what you're talking about. And I'm curious, what is the most nerve-wracking thing you must deal with as a freelancer?
Well, I think getting on a call for the first time with a new client. I don't think that, even I had like hundreds of calls. I don't think that's when you get on a call for the first time with the first client. For me, that's kind of like I always have that little bit of like a nervous feeling before, simply because first impression matters, and like the first call, you could kind of say it's the most important call. So I think knowing all that, I put quite a lot of pressure. Even though I haven't had any like catastrophic calls, at least that I can recall. But yeah, I think that one is always kind of like a bit, yeah, a bit nerve-wracking. But yeah.
How do you prepare for this call?
Well, so I kind of like I try to get as many information as I can from the emails, but obviously like a call is there to also like get to know the client and really understand their goals. So I think doing a lot of research on client, so you don't use that time to ask them things that you could see on their website or on their LinkedIn that you can notice. I think what's really good is it's a great opportunity to like really showcase the way you work, and I think that's why also it adds that like a level of pressure. But you can really like, you can like upfront see what are their issues and kind of say like, okay, yeah, I noticed also that this is not really working how it should. So, have you thought about fixing that and stuff? So I'm not saying like prepare, the solutions to their problems, but like show that you really done your homework. So yeah, just doing a lot of research into like their past work, and yeah, anything like any information, and it just like using then that time to ask for information that you genuinely couldn't find.
How do you know if the call is going right or in the wrong direction?
I think, if it's a video call, I think you can kind of like read the body language, or though even that sometimes can, like turn out to be wrong. Like I had calls where I was like really like I ended them and I was thinking like, okay, that didn't go well, or okay, I should not count on that, like they're not gonna hire me. And then the next day they reach out and say like, okay, like here's the contract. So I think but yeah, kind of like I guess the overall like the vibe of the call, and like usually if it all goes like a bit over the scheduled time is a good thing. And yeah, it just like them kind of like it's just like them showing more interest in you. And I think that's why I like to kind of like have more information that you can like really kind of like stand out and impress, that like, okay, well, this person really went, one step ahead is enough for you to stand out from the others that they are maybe like having call with, and then to hire you. So yeah, I'd say just like a really thorough research is always time well spent.
And do you follow up after the call?
It depends. It depends kind of like what we agreed on the call. So I always like to kind of like end the call with some sort of like trying to get out some action out of them. But if they are the ones leading the call, which is also something that you will kind of like figure it out in the first 5 minutes. If they are leading the call, then you kind of like you can follow up like in a week. We kind of like, but if you're leading the call, then, like I kind of like always end up like, okay, I'm going to send you like a proposal based on what we've discussed. Or, just, it is obviously always great if you get immediately kind of like get in touch with them. But if there's the ones who are like, okay, well, we'll let you know by the end of this week, then I don't think there's really much you can do other than, like try your luck with maybe like being like annoying. But for some people it does work, but it just doesn't really align with me and my personality. So if they say like, okay, we'll reach out to you, then, I kind of like, okay, well, that's what we agreed.
Okay, yeah, I'll be waiting for you. As a freelancer, do you ever feel professional loneliness?
I do, yes. I think we all do. Like I remember when I was working like in startup, and that was like fully remote, but we had, like weekly team meetings, and you could really feel, that sense of like, okay, I'm struggling with this project. Can you help me out? Or can we like, and so I do miss that in being a freelancer. Also, you have those, people you work with, they become friends. And though I do have cases where my clients like became friends, it's not the, like it is still a bit, it is different. So just having, so that's why, being part of communities, or like having really inner circle of freelancers that you can kind of feel like your team. And I've seen more and more people are doing that, like people who have complementary services, they're like getting together and kind of like acting as a team. But also people who I've seen like people who do the same service, offer exactly the same services, and then kind of like, they have that job sharing, and it's like it's really, like community over competition.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a great thing. I don't really have that sort of kind of like partnership, or but there are ways to kind of like overcome it. But I do miss, being part of the team, and just like getting together and not really work, that's
If your friend wanted to become a freelancer, what are top 3 things you'd advise them to consider before doing it?
So only 3.
yeah. Let's start with first steps. Like
So the main thing would be finances. I think a lot of people jump into freelancing thinking, okay, I'm gonna start earning loads of money my first month. While that, depending, for some people it does happen if they already have built network and they can, like reach out to people saying, hey, I'm starting to freelance. So, if you know someone, recommend me and stuff. So, and they can already start building, like getting clients from the first month. But people who just jump in kind of like straight into cold water, just because they've been influenced by some, stories they've seen online, I think they really underestimate the financial aspect of it, and the fact that you can have a month where you're gonna earn a lot of money, and then you'll have months where you're not gonna earn any money or very little money. So I'd say, depending on situation, have a savings, because when you're building your freelancing business and when you're like doing so many things at the same time, you don't want that financial pressure on top, thinking, how am I gonna pay my bills this month, or like, what have I done? So that would be really the first thing, simply because I've genuinely like witnessed some heartbreaking stories where, like people jumped in it thinking, okay, that's solution to my, financial problems. but it doesn't happen, it can happen fast, but it doesn't, like, you have to be prepared that, what if it doesn't happen? Like, can I afford myself 6 months to build my reputation and my personal brand and my business, and, thinking I won't earn anything for these 6 months? Will I be okay, or will I have that financial pressure on top? So that's really the first thing. The second thing would be discipline. So not like, to be freelancer, you really have to have a very, like, military self-discipline. It's too easy to go on, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, you name it. You don't have a boss who's gonna ask you, you're your own boss, but it's, so discipline. If you can, commit to a certain schedule, if you can just organize yourself. For example, for that, I think that, kind of like also filters out freelancers who can do it full time and have a really sustainable business, from freelancers who are not really able to do it. Obviously, life happens, and different circumstances, but just like really treating it like that's still your job. Just because you're freelancer doesn't mean people will just give you a lot of money and stuff. You're still working. Just because you don't go to office, you don't work for somebody else, it doesn't, you're working for yourself. So that should be even more important. That would be second thing. And third thing would be, that's like, it can be uncertain and it can be lonely. I'd kind of like put those two together, because it's not always uncertain and it's not always lonely, and you can kind of like, loneliness you can fight, because there's loads of communities, co-working spaces, loads of events. So you can kind of like, deal with that bit. Uncertainty, I don't think anyone could have predicted pandemics and how it would impact all of us. But just like being aware that the world can go into a global lockdown and you might lose clients. So those would be, okay, it's like four things.
I feel like some people had those understanding and they bought a lot of toilet paper before.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I was the one of those who were like, wow, why are they doing that?
Yeah, you never know.
You never know.
I wish to have the sky as a limit, but time is a limit. So the final question. If you were starting freelancing today, what is one thing you would have done differently?
I wouldn't waste time on thinking like, am I good enough? I just, I just really believe in myself, even to the point where maybe it was, just believe in yourself really, really strongly, and then the others would believe in you as well.
Yeah, totally. Maja, thank you so much for sharing your experience and having such an open and honest conversation.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you so much for listening. If you like the show, hit the like button or 5 stars and share it with your friend. That's it. We're done. See you in the next episode.